Dr. Chohan, your understanding of such moods, especially when it comes to the vast mineral potential here in Pakistan. We've seen those important addresses both by Prime Minister and the Chief of Army Staff, a number of other ministers, high-ranking officials over there, as well at this particular forum. We've also seen the delegates which were participating in this particular summit expressing their keen desire to come up with their investments from the respective countries. When we specifically talk about this particular address by the Prime Minister, one of the very important points which has been mentioned by Mr. Shami also concerns the transfer of technology. How do you look at that? How beneficial that particular aspect is going to be in the longer term as far as Pakistan is concerned?
Yes, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on the show. I think you've hit the nail on the head with the capital-intensive nature of mining. We always knew that Pakistan had lots of resources, 92 different types of minerals. The low-ball estimate is $6 trillion. But because it is so capital-intensive and it accrues a lot of risks in the prospecting and then extraction, capital investment has been on the back foot. But in the meantime, many countries have advanced in that. Many countries have used minerals actually as the lever to advance their economic development. And you see them in many parts of the world. You see Botswana in Africa, Chile in Latin America, Australia in Oceania. The minerals were a key crux of that, and they do have the expertise for that. Their, delegates have come as well as US, Saudi, Canadians and Barrack and Chinese. They all have expertise and they have capital. What they have asked for, in addition to the transfer of technology, is a clear mechanism of how to operate. We learned the lessons the hard way with that Tethyan copper issue, $6 billion in fines, and it was one of those cautionary tales. But the legal framework aspect is one where Pakistan has been working very hard, and you couple that with technology and you start to get a very nice picture of how other countries use this best practice. I see this in particular, the capital intensive, as important because we want the maximum amount of the value chain to be done in Pakistan. We don't want to just dig it out of the ground and send it away to be refined somewhere else. You want to have that capital base here to gain the maximum amount of value from this. That's why having the right investment in property, plant, equipment and everything here would be important. And why does this matter above all is because of exports. For Australia, 70% of merchandise exports are minerals. They have other industries too. For Chile, it might be 20% of GDP, but it's 60% of exports. Similarly, Botswana, it might be 30% of GDP, but 70% of exports. And exports are our big thing in terms of where we are lacking in terms of the aggregate demand function. So if we have the export part covered, you'll start to see your current account and deficit resolved, and your fiscal account issues, your fiscal deficit issues resolved, because you're exporting, you're gaining dollars for it, and you'll gain more dollars when you have more capital investment.
So when Prime Minister says that when he emphasizes the importance of processing and exporting the finished or semi-finished mineral products, does that particular aspect of his address relate to what you have just said in terms of enhancing exports?
Yes, exactly. When the Prime Minister said this, he was thinking forward and prudently about the idea that Pakistan has to be the maximum net beneficiary of this. And as I have argued to you, exports is where we have the gap. If you have $24 billion of exports and you have $40 billion of imports, this gap is being met right now with remittances, which are about $36 billion. So that's why we are fixing our current account deficit issue. But having this additional lever would be very important. I think for a country of Pakistan's size, having at least 5 core industries is necessary. You have remittances, the export of labor. You have textiles. Now you have been working on IT. Add minerals to that, and you need agriculture at a surplus level to export it, and you have your 5 to become an economic powerhouse. Those 5. No country excels at all things, and Trump is going to learn this the hard way with his silly policies. But because no country succeeds at all things, you want to have at least 5 industries, and mining has to be crucial in that because of its size and because we can extract the maximum amount across the value chain.
Which was mentioned by Mr. Ali Pervez Malik. Now, how far-reaching an impact do you think this particular framework, the National Mineral Harmonization Framework, is going to address that particular, how far-reaching an impact is going to have as far as streamlining of the policy? At the same time, attracting the investment in this particular sector is concerned?
I think that this addresses the core issue, perhaps once and for all, I hope, because this core issue has held us even more than technology. Because you can get away with selling the rudiments of minerals and then have somebody else extract them, you'd still get something. But without the right governance architecture, you can't move forward at all. And the lesson from Recodic was that we have had in the past 6 different policies on minerals. We have had 8 different legal acts, and we have had 36 different versions of the rules pertaining to minerals across the country at federal and provincial levels. So whenever investors, for example from China, but any other country have come, they felt like they were dealing with 6 different countries. That is not fair. It is one country, and it should have this harmonization, the principle that you have elucidated, and which is in the terminology of this accord itself, to have the harmony, that it is streamlined. I think the big lesson for us, looking back now, almost 2 decades, is that the 18th Amendment was passed in too much of a hurry. And we have lived with the consequences of that for a generation now. You can take mining as the exemplar of how disastrous this has been, but you can look at it in education, exports, the taxation, expenditure, goods versus service, everywhere. The 18th Amendment has fallen short, but I think the biggest damage relative to the size of the economy is in mining. So in order to have this kind of harmonization, you have to have this clarity from the top down, and you have to have all stakeholders on board as this does. The idea of harmonization isn't to exclude other stakeholders, but to truly harmonize them in a top-down structure. And that way, any foreign investor feels that they are protected by a long-term vision with clarity across the authorities.
Identify those particular avenues when it comes to the importance of joint ventures as far as this particular sector is concerned.
The most important thing is, as Shami Saab said, that there is a sense of parity among the counterparties. When you have the joint ventures, you must emphasize certain values. One is the rule of law, the second is trust, the third is shared gains. When you have these values, then you go into the technical expertise to bring in the most depoliticized and technocratic people from the top down. As Shami Saab had mentioned, there are the top managerial level people, but then you go further down to the worker. It all has to be done with the idea of maximizing the stakeholder value, not shareholder, but stakeholder value. And the stakeholder value is on both sides. You have to give the companies that are putting in such high capital investments a fair return for that. And at the same time, you have to take the dividends of such projects and invest them appropriately and sustainably in your country. You know, even if all of this works out well, my deeper concern is with none of these things. Not extracting maximum value chain, not getting people employed. My deep concern is, let's say everything happens perfectly. What are you going to do with the money that you've earned? That is the most important thing. Are you going to invest it in the periphery of your country in education, healthcare, and infrastructure, and then help the people there? That is the most important thing. We have been working towards a Pakistan Sovereign Fund, which has the transparency and everything, so that things are invested in the national interest. Otherwise, there's, as I said to you, a set of countries like Australia, Botswana, Chile, that reinvested and did well. There's another set of countries like Zambia and Sierra Leone, and Guinea. Guinea has 80% of the world's bauxite. It is still a poor country. Congo has 80% of the world, no, 98% of the world's cobalt. It is a poor country. Zambia exports 80% of its economy is copper. It is a poor country. You can go into that category too. So after everything is said and done at this forum and then actually implemented, where does the money actually go?
A very important point made. What about the vocational training institutions, the acquisition of the required skill set, and training the workforce on those particular patrons?
Our population is growing very, very quickly at about 2 to 3% per year, at a base of now 240 million people. And our biggest concern is that the demographic pyramid is very wide at the base. As these people come of age, it matches the length of the projects of mining, which are multi-decade things. So as they come of age, the best way to channel their labor productivity possibilities is in the mining sector, because that is where the maximum amount of employment can be done, even if you have a lot of robotics, a lot of AI, using space technology to mine. I'm a huge fan of this, using space technology in mining. You still need people on the ground at various levels. And so I think that having vocational will give you better employment opportunities within the mix of employment that will be there. Right now there are 300,000 workers in this sector, but you can easily have 3 million. You can easily have 8 million if you go into many projects working at the same time, because the nature of our geology is very unique. We are basically part of one island that hit Asia, and there's such the Tethys Sea erasure made all of these mining opportunities possible. So because of that, employment can constantly be put in this, but I would also like good wages, mining safety, and all those other regulations to be respected at the same time.
Yes, to this particular presence of this special delegation, including led by, of course, one of the high-ranking officials of the U.S. State Department. Also, we saw that phone conversation between Secretary of State and Deputy Prime Minister. He also emphasized about the importance of the critical minerals, the win-win cooperation, your understanding how it could be a win-win cooperation between Pakistan and the U.S. in the times to come.
Yes, well, we should look at all major powers and try to cooperate with them. I don't think we should give preferential treatment to the United States. Our track record is very mixed at best, and we have a long-standing relationship with China. We are now in a world where it's very similar to the scramble for Africa circa 1880, and so they're looking for strategic resources everywhere and trying to cut up the world in their favor. I don't think we should fall prey to that game. And building on Shami Saab's point, I'll give you two birds with one stone. If you have a deficit of $3 billion with the United States, just import $3 billion worth of mining equipment for this project you're doing. You'll do your mining and you'll get it. And they have very good mining equipment, probably the best in terms of Trump-style speech. So get your mining equipment from America, have a flat, no deficit with America, problem solved. Two birds with one stone.
You're confident that in that particular case, 29% tariffs are going to be reduced?
Certainly.
Can reduce up to 10%, maybe zero.
So that baseline
Yes.
tariff. Okay, Dr. Usman Chohan, Advisor Economy at the Center for Aerospace and Security Studies. Thank you very much for being with us.